How are you sort of experiencing Adrian Griffin in those first few weeks, and where do you think, has he already evolved as a head coach?
Short answer is yes, because he's 12 games in, coming up on a month of regular season games. But yeah, I mean,
it's such a small sample. It's so funny when we say it out loud,
right? Like think about everything that their whole offseason plan was thrown out the window as soon as Damian Lillard was acquired, and that was 5 days before the start of training camp.
I mean, that is a good point. Yes.
So look, there was, it didn't look great on defense, and what was kind of interesting is fairly predictable. Like, you're going to go from a pretty standard drop heavy, maybe some wrinkles around it. For instance, last season the Bucks became a very good team against defending threes. They didn't leave open corner threes anymore. They didn't leave open threes period anymore. And now you move to a more ball pressure, switching style of defense with guys who've either never done it or they haven't done it in years. It didn't look great all the time. And 4 games in, a couple bad losses to bad teams, and the veterans go to Adrian Griffin's door and say, hey, let's run some drop. Let's do that. And they do that against the Knicks, and they did it almost exclusively against the Knicks. And then since then, it has become I don't know if Adrian Griffin will call it his base defense, but it's now back with Brook Lopez, particularly on the court. We've seen, they ended the game in Brooklyn. Brook is sitting down, and they're switching 1 through 5 because the Nets have no bigs. And that was just kind of what was required. And what's interesting, JR, is the guys who have been here the last 2 years with disappointing playoff losses, they know they need to be able to do all of these different things in a game. Run more zone than they ever have under Bud. Switch 1 through 5. Switch and then drop and then zone and then hybrids of of whatever else. Like, they know that that's what they need in the playoffs. And to do that, you need to do it in the regular season. And it's been an interesting sort of process to watch them work through this, where they know it's not going to be overnight. They know it's not going to be pretty at times, and it may result in losses. But yet, being able to handle that as competitors and as guys who win a lot or have won a lot, they can't accept the fact that they're losing like that. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of grumpy about it. Just like last year, JR, when the Bucks went 500 for like a 2-month stretch, after that 9-0 start, and the guys were kind of, they like winning, and they weren't, and so you had some grumpy people, right? And national podcasts are saying, "Oh, the vibes in the Bucks locker room." There are no vibes. They're just a bunch of, professionals tired of not winning. So it was kind of like that to start the season. Like, all the guys kind of knew what they had to do. They didn't necessarily know how to do it. And then Griffin has gradually changed. I mean, they come to him for drop, he adds it, right? And then Giannis gets tossed for having 2 techs. Adrian Griffin says that night, "Man, I got to stick up for my guys." The very next night, he gets run and gets tossed in Indiana, right? And he's like, "Well, maybe I shouldn't have gone like that far overboard." And so there's just a lot of that stuff, JR, where you're seeing with a first-year coach. And yeah, like Bud, look, man, it's different time. Like, Giannis was hitting the peak of his powers in 18-19, and Bud had already won 60 games once with Atlanta, right? Like, you had a 5-year head coach who'd been to a conference finals. Like, not that it wasn't maybe a surprise that they stomped everybody, but like, Brook Lopez was new. Like, I think that it's a little bit of apples to oranges beyond just it was a experienced head coach versus an unexperienced one. But I think you're right, though, JR. It shows truly what expectation is. And while Adrian Griffin and the guys might have said, "Hey, embrace the expectation, don't run away from it," it's easy to say on October 2nd. Mm-hmm. It's a lot harder to live it when Atlanta runs you out of the gym, when Toronto runs you out of the gym, when Orlando beats the brakes off of you, right? Like, it's a little harder to live it. And so I think it's just taking a little time, and we'll continue to see them evolve.